It is 2025. The Philippines sits in one of the most contested corners of the world, Southeast Asia, a region where every move is watched, and every alliance can shift the balance of power. To the north, tensions over Taiwan continue to escalate. To the west, the South China Sea remains a flashpoint of military posturing and territorial disputes. And right in the middle of it all stands the Philippine Army. Once seen as a modest force built mostly for internal security, the Army now finds itself at a crossroads, battle-tested by decades of insurgency, yet now modernizing at a pace not seen in its history. New weapons, new tactics, and new partners are shaping a ground force designed to defend and to deter. From its humble beginnings as a small, ill-equipped force of fighters to a disciplined, increasingly well-equipped military powerhouse, the transformation is impossible to ignore. But here's the question that matters most. Just how formidable is the modern Filipino soldier when the battlefield demands speed, precision, and firepower? In this video, we'll break it all down. The weapons an Army soldier carries today, the cutting-edge machines rolling into the Army's arsenal, the special forces units that train with some of the best in the world, and the alliances and budgets fueling this rapid modernization. And stay with me until the end, because there's a brand new capability being added to the Philippine Army this year, one that could completely change the game in the region for years to come. The Philippine Army's HQ is at Fort Andres Bonifacio in Taguig City, the strategic nerve center. In 2025, the Chief Commanding General of the Philippine Army is Lieutenant General Antonio G. Navarrete, appointed just July 31st, and he's steering the Army into its next era. The numbers for 2025 tell a story of priorities, and for the Philippines, defense is clearly at the top. This year's defense budget hit a historic high, 272 billion pesos, marking a 12.3% jump from 2024, the biggest peacetime defense boost in Philippine history. And here's where it gets interesting. The Philippine Army takes the largest share of that pie, 138.2 billion pesos, more than any other branch of the military. That money is being funneled directly into new equipment, advanced training, and better support for soldiers on the ground. On top of the main budget, there's a dedicated modernization fund of 35 billion pesos guaranteed for the year. And if government revenues hold steady, there's an additional 40 billion in standby funding, ready to be deployed for urgent acquisitions. This means that if the regional situation changes suddenly, the Army can fast-track purchases without waiting for another budget cycle. Active personnel stands at 110,000 Filipino soldiers ready for ground combat. Add to that a standby reserve force of 1.2 million, not an army, but a massive reserve that can be mobilized fast if needed. Now, to the tools of the trade. Your average Philippine Army soldier in 2025 carries a blend of battle-proven classics and steadily arriving modern systems. At the core, the M16A1 and M4 carbine series, reliable, rugged, and still the backbone of many infantry units. Alongside them, you'll find Steyr AUG bullpups, Gallo SARs, and the sleek Heckler & Koch G36, giving troops modular, adaptable firepower for different mission profiles. For close quarters work, urban combat, shipboarding, or tight jungle clearings, the MP5 submachine gun still earns its keep, thanks to its accuracy and low recoil. When it's time to put down serious fire, the Army fields M60 general-purpose machine guns and over 6,000 Daewoo K3 light machine guns, pouring sustained firepower onto enemy positions. Precision shooters rely on M21 sniper rifles, capable of disabling key targets from hundreds of meters away. And for heavy direct fire, the 50 caliber M2 Browning heavy machine gun remains a devastating tool, shredding light vehicles, fortifications, and even small boats. It's a hybrid arsenal, legacy hardware from past decades fused with newer, more modern platforms. And here's where things get interesting. New gear is already being integrated into frontline units, lightweight body armor, modern optics, and improved night vision devices, all of which close the capability gap with regional militaries. When it comes to armor, the Philippine Army fields a mix of battle-tested veterans and brand-new arrivals. The M113 armored personnel carriers, still dependable decades after their debut. Alongside them, you'll spot V-150 Commandos and locally built Simba APCs, designed for troop transport and light fire support. Then comes the ACV-15 infantry fighting vehicle. Better protection, better firepower, and ready to move with mechanized infantry. And in 2025, the big news is the arrival of the Sabrah Light Tanks, armed with a 105mm gun, but lighter and more agile than traditional MBTs, perfect for the varied terrain of the Philippines. The Army's firepower on the ground is backed by modern artillery systems like the ATMOS 2000, a truck-mounted 155mm howitzer that combines mobility with long-range precision strikes. This gives the Army the ability to shoot and scoot, hitting targets hard and moving before counter-fire arrives. In the pipeline are VBTP-MR Guarani armored vehicles, a 6.6 platform offering better armor, amphibious capability, and a modular design for troop transport, command posts, or even mortar carriers. These will further boost mobility in both urban and rural battlefields. With these upgrades, the Philippine Army isn't just defending fixed positions anymore, it's becoming a mobile strike force, able to project power quickly across the archipelago. Up next, the Army's elite. Meet the Philippine Army's elite, the warriors you rarely see, but whose presence can change the course of a battle. These are the elite formations under the Army's Special Operations Command. First, the 1st Scout Ranger Regiment, masters of jungle warfare, ambush tactics, and stealth operations, feared by insurgents for their ability to strike deep behind enemy lines. Second, the Special Forces Regiment, paratroopers trained to deploy anywhere, anytime, specializing in unconventional warfare, reconnaissance, and counterterrorism. And finally, the Light Reaction Regiment, nicknamed the Luna Sharpshooters. They're the Army's top-tier counter-terror unit, born from the lessons of the War on Terror and modeled after the U.S. Army's Delta Force. Their missions are high risk, high precision, and often high secrecy. Exact numbers? Classified. But their impact on the battlefield is anything but hidden. In 2025, U.S. Special Forces continue to work side by side with their Filipino counterparts, not just in classrooms, but in live fire drills, close quarters combat training, and joint operations planning, from sniper marksmanship to urban assault tactics. These exchanges transfer decades of combat experience from one of the world's most battle-tested militaries to the Philippines' elite forces. Every year, these units are becoming faster, stealthier, and more lethal, ready to operate in the most hostile environments the archipelago or the region can throw at them. In 2025, the Philippine Army's exercise calendar is more packed than ever. The annual Balikatan drills with the United States have grown into one of the largest joint training events in the Indo-Pacific. And with this year's new entry, Japan is now a full partner in the exercise for the first time in history, bringing in their own troops, equipment, and naval vessels to train alongside Filipino soldiers. These aren't just symbolic gestures. Live fire exercises, including coastal defense missile launches, are being conducted to test readiness in real-world scenarios. This combination of record funding, rapid modernization, and expanded international training signals one thing: the Philippine Army is preparing for a future where readiness isn't optional, it's survival. But the question is, how does this really stack up against Southeast Asia's best? By Global Firepower 2025, the Philippines ranks 41st out of 145 nations, with a power index of 0.6987, the lower the better. That puts the Philippine Army mid-tier globally and around 6th in Southeast Asia in overall manpower and military strength. The Philippine Army is not top dog, but with its battle experience, strengthening alliances, and experience in internal security, this might change. The real advantage: reach, resolve, alliances, and rising modernization funding. But here's the real leap forward I promised. Working side by side with U.S. forces, the Philippine Army tested the Navy Marine Expeditionary Ship Interdiction System, or NMESIS. This is a coastal vehicle-mounted missile launcher armed with the Naval Strike Missile, designed to sink ships well beyond the horizon. For the first time, Army ground units could deny enemy fleets access to Philippine waters with precision, creating an island-hopping punch that redefines coastal defense. But that's not all. Philippine Army troops received training and operational use of the Typhon mid-range capability system, another U.S.-developed launcher capable of firing both SM-6 interceptors for air and missile defense, and Tomahawk cruise missiles for deep strike missions. In other words, the Philippine Army won't just be able to defend the shoreline. It could reach out and neutralize threats hundreds, even over 1,000 kilometers away. Plans are now in motion for Manila to acquire both systems, the NMESIS for immediate coastal interdiction and the Typhon for long-range deterrence. Together, they would transform the Army from a largely defensive ground force into a regional precision strike player, one capable of shaping not just land battles, but the very balance of power across the West Philippine Sea. The Philippine Army in 2025 is no longer limited to jungle patrols or urban defense. Its role now spans jungles, cities, and coastlines, and soon, even the vast reaches of the sea and sky. If you reached the end of this video, then I would think that you liked our content. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, as your likes and comments will help us creating more insightful content.